In a world filled with hesitation, the man who decides fastest wins. Empires fall not because of weakness, but because of delay. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this truth long before modern psychology gave it a name. He mastered the art of instant, decisive judgment, not through emotion but through strategy. Today we uncover Machiavelli's 7 laws for critical moments principles that separate the rulers from the ruled, the decisive from the uncertain. You've faced it before, that paralyzing moment when one decision could change everything. A business move, a confrontation, a betrayal, and your mind freezes. While most people drown in overthinking, Machiavelli would have already chosen, acted, and gained the advantage. In this video, you will learn how to think as fast and sharp as the master strategist himself, even when the pressure burns. There's a moment in every person's life when emotion takes the throne, when anger clouds judgment, when fear silences courage, and when desire blinds logic. It's in that instant that most people make their worst decisions, but not Machiavelli. He understood that emotion was the enemy of power, and that no ruler, no general, no thinker could afford to be ruled by his own feelings. To Machiavelli, emotion was a storm, unpredictable, violent, and temporary, and the one who chooses in the middle of a storm loses control. He wrote that a wise ruler must appear passionate but never decide in passion, because emotion, when it takes the lead, does not ask what is useful, it only screams what feels right. But feeling right and being right are two very different things. Think about how often emotion tricks people into weakness. A man reacts to an insult and destroys years of discipline. A leader shows mercy to his enemies and later watches them sharpen their knives. A friend forgives betrayal because of guilt, only to be betrayed again. These are not acts of morality. These are the victories of emotion, and Machiavelli despised them. He believed that every decision carries one question, not "how do I feel about this?" but "what gives me advantage?" If anger gives you power, use it. If silence gives you control, stay quiet. But never let emotion decide for you. Emotion is a servant, not a ruler. Machiavelli observed that emotion destroys timing. When you are angry, you move too fast. When you are afraid, you move too slow. And both are fatal. Emotion bends the sense of time. It makes you forget when to wait and when to strike. And for Machiavelli, timing was everything. The wise ruler chooses when others are lost in reaction. He waits for his opponent's anger to make him clumsy, then acts with surgical precision. He once said, "He who allows himself to be governed by passion loses both reason and opportunity." That means the instant you act in rage, you hand your enemy your advantage. They now control you because you've become predictable. The person who can provoke you controls you. The person who can make you fear them limits your action. And once your emotions can be triggered, your decisions are no longer your own. Machiavelli trained himself to detach not because he lacked feeling, but because he knew feelings were weapons that could be used against him. He studied people like a strategist, not a saint. He would watch how men's faces changed when threatened, how their tones softened when praised, how greed made them blind. He learned that every emotion exposed a weakness, so when he made decisions, he treated emotions as intelligence, clues, not commands. If someone tried to make him angry, he asked himself, why do they want me to lose control now? If he felt fear, he would pause and study its source. If he felt pity, he would question its timing, because pity often arrives when someone wants to manipulate your strength. In his world, compassion could be used as a trap, mercy as a weapon, and guilt as a leash. That's why he chose clarity over comfort. Emotion made rulers hesitate, but advantage made them conquer. He saw that those who ruled the world were not the ones who felt deeply, but the ones who decided strategically. To decide like Machiavelli means learning to pause in the storm, to see the situation not from your heart, but from your throne. Every strong decision requires emotional distance. You step outside of yourself, look down at the chessboard, and ask, what wins the game? Not what feels fair, not what looks noble, but what secures my position. Because in the world of power, emotion is not a friend, it's a test. The one who fails it becomes a puppet. The one who passes it becomes a ruler. Machiavelli believed that time was the most ruthless judge of all. Every hesitation, every pause, every moment of doubt is an invitation for your rivals to strike first. He wrote that in the game of power, the slow man dies, not by sword, but by indecision. And that truth has not changed, whether it's a ruler deciding when to move his army or a person deciding when to take a risk. Delay is death, because while you hesitate, someone else is already acting. Machiavelli, decision-making was warfare. The battlefield was not just land and steel, it was time itself. He understood that the world rewards movement, not perfection. Those who wait for certainty will never rule, because certainty never comes. The wise act in uncertainty and bend events in their favor. That's why Machiavelli admired leaders who were bold enough to make fast choices, even if they weren't perfect. He said, "It is better to act and correct than to freeze and regret." He observed that fortune, like a wild river, rewards those who build barriers before it floods. Waiting for the perfect moment is a myth. There are no perfect moments, only moments that vanish. To him, hesitation was not caution, it was surrender. He saw men who had brilliant plans but never executed them. He saw kings who had loyal armies but delayed one day too long, and by that delay, lost everything. The ones who acted fast were called lucky, but Machiavelli knew it was not luck, it was timing. He taught that timing was the hidden face of power. To act before others even realize there's an opportunity that is domination. The one who strikes first doesn't just control the situation, he controls the perception of it. The world remembers the first move, not the perfect move. When a ruler acts boldly, others are forced to react, and reaction is weakness. Reaction means you are already one step behind. Machiavelli believed that hesitation is born from fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of losing, fear of blame, and fear is a luxury no ruler can afford. The man who waits to be ready will watch opportunities pass like ghosts. He wrote that fortune favors the audacious, because audacity forces the world to respond to your will. When you act with speed, even uncertainty bends in your favor. People mistake movement for mastery, confidence for correctness, and boldness for truth. He often compared decision-making to striking with a blade. The perfect strike doesn't exist, but the first strike creates chaos, and in chaos, control belongs to the one who moves. To delay is to hand your sword to your opponent. Every second of hesitation strengthens them and weakens you. That's why Machiavelli saw decisiveness as a form of warfare against hesitation itself. He studied how hesitation destroyed power. A prince waiting too long to punish betrayal invites more betrayal. A general waiting for perfect weather never sees victory. A man waiting for courage never earns respect. Machiavelli would say, "Act first, refine later," because every decision can be adjusted, but the chance to act can never be recovered once it's gone. To him, the most dangerous habit was overthinking. He believed overthinking was disguised cowardice. The overthinker hides behind logic, telling himself he's being careful, but Machiavelli saw the truth. He's being controlled by fear. The wise ruler doesn't think endlessly, he observes, he measures, and then he strikes. His speed shocks his enemies and inspires his allies. He doesn't ask, "Is this safe?" He asks, "Will this give me power?" When others waste time predicting the future, he creates it through action, because in Machiavelli's world, time is not something you have, it's something you take, and those who do not seize it, lose it forever. Machiavelli lived in a world of masks, a world where words were weapons and smiles were traps. He knew that every face in the court, every ally in politics, every promise whispered in the dark was part of a performance. To him, reality was never what it seemed. What people said was only a costume stitched from ambition and fear, and anyone who believed in appearances, anyone who decided by what they saw on the surface, was already defeated. He wrote that truth hides behind what men pretend to be, because people do not act from honesty, They act from advantage. The loyal servant obeys because he fears punishment. The friend praises because he wants favor. Even enemies sometimes flatter you just to study your weakness. Machiavelli trained himself to look beyond every word and gesture, to see what others tried to hide. He understood that the world runs not on truth, but on perception. And perception is a weapon used by those who understand it first. He would say, "Never take the stage for reality. Study the hand that writes the play." In every situation, Machiavelli asked one question: who benefits from this illusion? If someone offered friendship, he asked what they stood to gain. If someone showed tears, he wondered who was watching them cry. He did not judge by emotion or appearance, but by interest. Because every human act has an agenda, and behind every kind word lies a motive, whether survival, greed, or control. He once described rulers who were destroyed because they trusted what they saw. They looked at their advisors and saw loyalty, but failed to see envy. They saw devotion, but ignored ambition burning quietly beneath the surface. They believed in smiles and handshakes, and it cost them their throne. Machiavelli's advice was brutal but true. Trust no man's face. Trust only his fear. The face may lie, but fear never does. Fear exposes the truth faster than confession. He taught that a wise man studies contradictions. If a person's words and actions don't align, there lies your answer. If someone flatters you but moves cautiously, they are hiding intent. Machiavelli believed the ability to see beyond deception was the mark of true intelligence. Most people crave reassurance, so they cling to appearances. The soft words, the gentle tone, the comforting lie. But the ruler who sees through illusion can never be controlled. He becomes untouchable because he understands that the world is a theater of manipulation. Machiavelli himself practiced the art of disguise. He could appear humble while planning revolt, calm while seething with ambition. He played the mask game better than anyone else because he knew that power was not about showing truth. It was about managing illusion. To survive, you must understand both, how to read deception and how to use it. He said that men judge more by the eyes than by the mind, because everyone can see but few can think. So he chose to think, while others only looked. He often observed that truth in politics, in love, in war, is buried beneath layers of appearance. To uncover it, one must learn patience. He would wait, observe silence, and let people reveal themselves. Time exposes the false faster than confrontation ever could. Those who rush to believe fall into traps. Those who observe build power quietly. He knew that most people reveal their truth not in what they say, but in what they avoid saying. In silence, you hear everything. To decide rightly in a world of masks, you must train your eyes to see like a hawk, to notice what others miss, to sense motives behind words, to understand that the truth is never handed to you, it must be extracted. Machiavelli's secret was simple. He didn't seek honesty, he sought patterns. He didn't crave trust, he craved understanding. Because once you see the machinery behind people's actions, their fears, their ambitions, their hidden goals, no illusion can deceive you again. Machiavelli lived in an age where kings preached virtue but ruled through deceit, where priests spoke of heaven but played politics on earth. He saw through all of it. He understood that the world was not built on morality, it was built on power, and those who confused the two were destined to be crushed by those who did not. He believed morality was beautiful in speech but dangerous in practice when it blinded rulers to the realities of control. To him, a man who wants to survive must measure every choice not by what is good, but by what is effective. He wrote that good and evil are words invented by the weak to restrain the strong. Because the truth is, the world rewards those who win, not those who behave. The ruler who clings to moral purity in a world of wolves soon becomes their prey. Machiavelli didn't despise morality, he understood its use. He saw that appearing moral was a weapon, but being moral at the wrong time was a liability. A prince, he said, should know how to be both the lion and the fox, strong enough to fight, clever enough to deceive, and wise enough to know when to wear the mask of virtue. He observed that people judge by appearances, not results. They love a ruler who seems just, even if he rules with an iron hand. They forgive a man who wins, even if his methods are ruthless. The common man does not look at the method. He looks at the outcome. So Machiavelli taught that a wise leader does not need to be moral. He only needs to appear moral while doing whatever must be done to protect his position. Because morality is a luxury of the secure. The powerful decide what is moral after they have already won. He believed the weak hide behind morality because they lack power, and the powerful use morality as a shield to disguise their ambition. A ruler must never ask, "Is this good?" but "Does this strengthen me?" For strength brings safety, and safety allows virtue to exist. Without power, goodness becomes a performance that convinces no one. Without control, even the kindest heart becomes a target. Machiavelli wrote that mercy can destroy faster than cruelty. Mercy shown to the wrong man breeds betrayal. Forgiveness granted too early invites more offense. The one who rules with pure kindness often dies by his own goodness. He argued that cruelty, when used swiftly and purposefully, can build stability that kindness never could. When the ruler must choose between being loved or feared, he said it is safer to be feared, because love depends on others, but fear depends on you. He saw morality as a game played for perception. Appear virtuous, but never let virtue weaken your hand. Smile when you must, punish when you must, and always keep control of appearances. The people must believe they are ruled by justice, even if the ruler is guided by necessity. This is not hypocrisy, this is strategy, for the wise understand that appearances of virtue maintain order, while the reality of power ensures survival. Machiavelli studied how men of high moral ground often fell because they refused to do what was necessary. They hesitated to lie, to strike, to deceive. And in that hesitation, the ruthless rose. He warned that the one who worships goodness will be devoured by those who worship control. The world has always bowed not to the good, but to the strong. History remembers conquerors, not martyrs. He saw morality as a mask that must fit the face of power. When morality serves your rule, wear it proudly. When it threatens your rule, remove it without hesitation. A ruler must be able to do both, to be virtuous when it is useful and ruthless when it is required. To Machiavelli, that balance was not corruption, it was intelligence, because the ultimate virtue is not purity, it is survival. And survival to him was the only truth that mattered. Machiavelli understood that power belongs to the one who knows. Every ruler, every commander, every strategist who ever won, did so because they saw what others could not. He believed that the greatest decisions are born not from emotion, not from luck, but from knowledge. To him, information was not just power, it was protection. And the man who gathered it like a spy could rule like a king. He wrote that those who act without knowing the field walk blindly into traps. Fortune does not favor the impulsive, it favors the informed. Machiavelli's genius was in his curiosity. He studied men, cities, enemies, and allies with the same cold attention. He listened when others talked, questioned when others assumed, and observed when others bragged. He collected secrets quietly, storing them like weapons, because he knew that when the time came to decide, the one with information could strike without hesitation. He said that a ruler must see beyond the walls of his castle, to understand not only what people say, but what they hide. The courtier who flatters might be a spy, the soldier who boasts might be insecure. The rival who appears weak might be planning rebellion. Machiavelli taught that it is not enough to hear, one must decode. And the art of decoding human behavior begins with silence. The more you listen, the more men expose themselves. They reveal their loyalties, their fears, their desires. And once you understand what drives them, you control them. He often observed that people betray themselves through small details. The glance that lingers too long, the hesitation before a lie, the nervous joke meant to cover intent. These were his sources of truth. He used silence like a weapon, letting others fill it with their own words. The weak cannot bear silence. They expose themselves to end it. That is how Machiavelli collected information without ever asking for it. He compared the ruler's mind to that of a spy, always alert, always unseen, always gathering. A good spy does not chase truth. He lets it come to him. He creates an environment where people reveal what he needs. He gives them comfort, curiosity, or pride, whatever opens their mouths. Machiavelli believed that the ruler who masters the art of listening will never be surprised. The king who depends on gossip will fall, but the one who collects his own intelligence will always stand above manipulation. He knew that even the smallest piece of information could change the outcome of an entire war. A whispered plan, a careless word, a glance of fear. These details could reveal more than 1,000 declarations. Machiavelli trained his perception until every gesture became data. He said that true intelligence was not about reading books, but reading people. Human nature was his scripture, and observation his religion, but information alone was not enough. It was how you used it that made the difference. He warned that knowledge must be filtered through reason, not paranoia. The wise man gathers from many sources, confirms each, and then acts with precision. To act like a king, one must not only know what is true, but when to use it. A secret revealed too early is wasted. A truth held too long loses power. Timing transforms information into control. Machiavelli also knew that to gather intelligence, one must inspire loyalty from those who see everything but say nothing. Servants, guards, commoners, and enemies' confidants. These were the invisible veins through which power flowed. He advised rulers to reward informants generously but trust none completely. Even spies have ambitions, and even allies can turn. So he built networks, not friendships, systems that survived betrayal. He often wrote that decisions made without knowledge are like arrows shot into fog. They may hit something, but never the right thing. The ruler who decides with information sees through the mist while others wander blind. And when the moment comes to strike, his enemies call it fortune. But it is not fortune. It is preparation disguised as luck. Machiavelli believed that victory is not earned in the moment of action, but in the long, silent days of observation that come before it. To think like Machiavelli is to think like a spy before you act like a ruler. It is to know that silence gathers, curiosity disarms, and patience reveals. The wise man collects the pieces of every conversation, every gesture, every rumor, until the full picture appears. Then, and only then, he decides. Swiftly, ruthlessly, with the confidence of a king who already knows how the game will end. Machiavelli knew something most people refuse to accept, that every right decision carries a price. Every choice that leads to power, every move that secures control, every step toward greatness demands something in return. Comfort, loyalty, safety, peace of mind. Something must be sacrificed. He believed that the fear of loss is what chains most people to mediocrity. They want victory, but they don't want the cost. They want control, but they still crave approval. They want freedom, but they cannot bear loneliness. To Machiavelli, that was weakness disguised as morality. He wrote that the ruler who hesitates to make painful decisions for the sake of sentiment will soon lose both sentiment and power, because the world does not reward good intentions. It rewards results. The man who cannot kill an idea when it's time cannot build an empire when the opportunity comes. Machiavelli believed that life is a chessboard of trade-offs. You do not win by avoiding pain, you win by choosing which pain is worth enduring. The wise ruler is not the one who avoids loss, he's the one who understands what must be lost to gain what matters most. He observed that people cling to comfort as if it were security, but comfort is the slow poison of power. It softens the will, dulls the senses, and blinds the mind to opportunity. The ruler who wants to preserve his peace loses his throne to the man willing to bleed for it. Machiavelli respected those who could detach, who could burn bridges, exile friends, or end traditions when they stood in the way of stability. To him, sacrifice was not cruelty, it was necessity. The stronger the ambition, the greater the cost. He said that decisive men understand this law instinctively. They do not wait for painless choices. They accept that all paths have a shadow. To choose one future means killing another. Every decision closes doors. The fool mourns what he lost. The wise man focuses on what he gained. That is why Machiavelli admired rulers who could separate emotion from duty. Men who could make decisions not because they wanted to, but because they had to. They understood that the throne is not for those who seek love, but for those who endure loneliness in exchange for dominion. Machiavelli saw sacrifice everywhere, in politics, in war, in human nature. A general sacrifices men to win a battle. A leader sacrifices his reputation to keep order. A thinker sacrifices his peace to find truth. To him, greatness always demanded a trade, and only those willing to pay it could truly rule themselves or others. He often said that fortune is cruel because it asks for blood in exchange for reward. The one who hesitates to pay the price will always remain beneath those who do. He understood that the cost of power is often invisible at first. The sleepless nights, the distrust, the isolation. These are the silent taxes of control. Most men crumble under that weight. They crave admiration but cannot handle envy. They want authority but fear judgment. Machiavelli believed that you must harden your heart before you rise. You must learn to watch doors close, to hear names curse you, and still walk forward. Because in the world of power, the right decision rarely feels right in the moment. It often feels cold, cruel, and lonely. But in time, it proves its worth. He wrote that men of action are never understood while they live. Their sacrifices are mocked, their ruthlessness is condemned, their motives questioned. But history always redeems them. Because when the dust settles, the only thing that matters is who survived. The world forgets the pain of the moment and remembers the permanence of victory. To Machiavelli, that was the final truth of leadership. The one who cannot bear the cost of his own decisions will eventually pay the price of someone else's. He saw that indecision is often the fear of sacrifice. People hesitate not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't want to lose what they must. But Machiavelli's world allowed no mercy for hesitation. He believed that a ruler must always ask, "What must die so that I may live?" That question defined every move he made. He saw sacrifice not as loss, but as the sharpening of will, as the proof that he was strong enough to choose when others trembled. Because the man who accepts the cost without flinching becomes untouchable. Conclusion in the end. The brilliance of Machiavelli lies not in his cunning alone, but in his mastery of decision, his ability to move when others froze, to act when others doubted, and to choose power over comfort every single time. He understood that hesitation is the assassin of opportunity. Life, to him, was a battlefield of timing, perception, and resolve. Those who wait for certainty are already defeated. Those who decide with strategy create their own certainty. Each of his 7 laws is not a set of moral lessons. They are instruments of power. They teach you how to see beyond appearances, to separate emotion from judgment, and to execute decisions that shape your destiny, instead of letting others shape it for you. Machiavelli's genius was not in avoiding mistakes, but in understanding that even mistakes, when made with confidence and purpose, can serve the throne of power. The weak spend their lives asking, "What if?" The strong Machiavelli would say, "Ask, what now?" Every great empire, every dominant mind, every lasting legacy, all are born from that single shift. He knew that hesitation kills kings faster than swords, so he acted swiftly, coldly, and with precision that others could only call ruthless. If you truly wish to rule your own fate, in business, in relationships, in the hidden wars of modern life, then learn what Machiavelli mastered, the art of decisive power. Think deeply, move quickly, and never beg for clarity from the uncertain. Because as Machiavelli taught, the world does not reward those who are right last. It rewards those who decide first.